Situational and metaphorical code switching. So we are going to look at what meaning is attached to the code switching between language varieties, either between standard language and a dialect or two different languages. So whenever we code switch, it carries a social meaning, and this is what we have been emphasizing during our modules. So when we are code switching between dialect and standard, it can be because we want to sort of allude to or point out implicitly to a dual set of or two different sets of relationships or two different types of roles. For instance, if you are working as a teacher and you are in a classroom, think of a very simple example. What if somebody related to you is also studying as a learner or as a student in your class? You as a teacher will talk to that child within that classroom in the standard language or in the official language during class hours, but you will sort of code switch if the child comes near to you to say something which is related to your home sphere or to talk about the same academic curriculum, but to sort of emphasize your dual role as your relationship outside the classroom and your relationship within the classroom as a teacher. Similarly, at times we also code switch metaphorically. We code switch metaphorically in order to sort of give a special meaning, relay a special meaning to the discussion that is going on, to emphasize on certain points. And when you code switch in a way, in a dialect, then at times other people who are not a part of the local community are sort of excluded from that thing. So this is your way of bonding, and this is your way of showing your or bonding your own relationship with that person or that group of people. So code switching is also at times dictated by topics, and there is a lot of research that has sort of led us to say that. So more often than not, if you're talking about your family affairs, you might switch to a dialect if you're talking to somebody who shares the dialect with you. When you're talking about office matters, when you're talking about sports, really depends in which way or in which language the information has been conveyed to you, and you somehow retract into the same language when we talk about those subjects. So more often than not, when you're talking about academics or your workplace, you actually heavily code switch into the official language and use several terms from there, and this is only natural. Then your code switching depends on the level of formality or informality between the participants. It also depends on the hierarchy, social hierarchy that you have. So even when your boss is talking to you in not in the official language, you might still reply to the boss in the official language. And similarly, we code switch to highlight our relationships and our roles. And that, what we are saying is that when we code switch, it carries a meaning, and that meaning is clearly understood by those who share the same speech community with us. So an official community, for instance, is defined by non-local language. So if you are using a non-local or a standard language, that will be what we say a unmarked way, to carry on a conversation. A marked way to carry on a conversation would mean that you're doing something different from what is usual. We code switch in our lectures. More often than not, lectures are delivered in the official language, and then we switch to the local dialect or the local language for the students to discuss it. And that also has to do with duality of our roles. It has to do with our rights and our obligations, and these all play out in our code switching.